Have you ever felt your heart race just thinking about what might go wrong tomorrow? Have you ever lost sleep imagining failures, rejections, or losses that haven't even happened yet? If you're between 20 and 35 years old, seeking growth, but still trapped in anxiety about the future, this video is for you. Stoicism doesn't promise a problem-free future. It teaches you to face the worst calmly and act courageously, even in uncertainty. In this video, you'll discover how to become immune to fear of the future with practical tools used by Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. If you want to stop suffering in anticipation and finally live with serenity, watch until the end. 1. The fear that paralyzes before the battle. Have you ever found yourself waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing, just thinking about what might go wrong tomorrow? Have you ever avoided making an important decision because you feared the future of failure, a rejection, a loss? You're not sick, you're human. And, unfortunately, we live in an age where the future never seems certain. The problem isn't planning, it's suffering in anticipation. It's spending days, weeks, or even years imagining disasters that may never happen. It's letting uncertainty steal your peace, your action, your life, and the worst part. This fear doesn't protect you, it paralyzes. You postpone projects because you fear failure. You avoid relationships because you fear abandonment. You don't change careers because you fear risk. And so, you end up living on autopilot, reacting to the present based on a future that doesn't yet exist. But what if I told you there's an ancient philosophy used by emperors, slaves, and thinkers that was designed precisely to confront this kind of fear? An approach that doesn't ignore the future, but teaches how to look toward it without losing your composure. I'm talking about Stoicism. This philosophy, practiced by minds like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, doesn't promise a world without risk. It promises something much more powerful: the courage to act, even without guarantees. It teaches that you don't need to predict the future to be ready for it with practical tools. Like Premeditatio Malorum, the rational anticipation of the worst, Stoicism transforms fear into preparedness. It doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it does eliminate the suffering it causes. If you're tired of living with anxiety, if you want to stop suffering in anticipation and finally act with courage, then this video is for you. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how Stoicism can make you immune to fear of the future. And if you truly want to change, watch until the end. Point 2. Why does the future scare us so much? The future has always been uncertain, but today it seems more threatening than ever. And it's not just because we live in difficult times, it's because the modern world constantly amplifies our fears. We live in a culture of disaster, sensationalist news, social media full of crises, warnings of all kinds. We're constantly bombarded with messages like, "You're late. This could ruin your career. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late." It's a cycle of artificial urgency that fuels anxiety and makes us believe the worst. It's about to happen. Then there's social pressure. You see people achieving rapid success, traveling, starting their own businesses, getting promoted, and you start wondering, what about me? Am I on the right path? Constant comparison creates a silent fear of being left behind, of not being good enough, of failing. But the biggest culprit isn't the external world, it's our brain. Evolutionarily, it was programmed to anticipate danger. In primitive times, those who imagined the worst, the predator in the shadows, the scarcity of food, were more likely to survive. This mechanism, called the negativity bias, is still active. But today, instead of protecting us from lions, it scares us with thoughts like, what if I get fired? What if no one loves me? What if I mess up? The problem is that, unlike our ancestors, we no longer live in constant physical danger, but our brains treat thoughts as real threats. And every time you imagine failure, your mind releases cortisol, adrenaline, as if the disaster were happening. Now, you suffer in the present for something that may never happen. And that's when we become paralyzed. Instead of taking action, we get stuck in the cycle of what if... We overanalyze, we procrastinate, because we believe that if we suffer enough now, maybe we'll avoid suffering later. But Stoicism offers a radical solution. Don't avoid fear. Face it clearly. Don't ignore the future. Prepare for it without letting it dominate you, because the real problem isn't uncertainty, it's believing you need to control it, to be at peace. And that's what we'll dismantle. Next, point 3. What is Stoicism? The philosophy of serenity in times of chaos. Stoicism isn't an abstract theory for classrooms, it's a tool, the practice of living with clarity, courage, and serenity, even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. It originated in ancient Greece, around the 3rd century BC, but flourished in the Roman Empire as a daily discipline for mental strengthening, and its greatest legacy, teaching that inner peace doesn't depend on circumstances, it depends on the quality of your mind. Its 3 great teachers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, faced the worst-case scenarios, yet still remained calm. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire at war, faced plagues, betrayals, and the death of his children. Even surrounded by chaos, he wrote in his journal, Meditations, as a daily reminder, you have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He didn't seek easy happiness. He sought justice, moderation, and self-control. Epictetus was born a slave with a crippled leg and lived under constant oppression, but he taught that true freedom lies not in external conditions, but in choosing one's own response. It's not things that disturb men, it's their opinions about things, he said. For him, the greatest enemy was not physical slavery, but emotional slavery. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, was exiled, faced conspiracies, and lived under constant threat. Yet he chose to live with simplicity and integrity. He knew that peace comes not from what you have, but from how you choose to act when everything goes wrong. What unites these three men? The belief that living with serenity in times of crisis isn't luck, it's practice. Stoicism isn't about repressing emotions, it's about not being dominated by them. It's a daily practice of mental discipline, distinguishing what you control from what you don't, acting with purpose, and preparing for the worst without suffering it in advance, if you want to stop being shaken by the future. Stoicism isn't an option, it's a necessity, and that's exactly what we'll explore next point for Premeditatio Malorum, how to anticipate the worst to lose. Your fear. At the heart of Stoicism lies a powerful, counterintuitive, yet profoundly liberating practice, Premeditatio Malorum, the rational anticipation of the worst. It's not pessimism. It's not giving in to fear. It's the opposite. It's looking squarely at what you fear most and saying, what if it happens? What would I do? The Stoics knew that fear doesn't come from what might happen, it comes from our reaction to it. And the greatest source of anxiety is the unknown. When you imagine the worst without thinking, your mind amplifies it. But when you face it with reason, it loses its power to paralyze you. Marcus Aurelius, amidst wars and disease, wrote, "In the morning, remember, today I may face betrayal, ingratitude, aggression, and yet I will choose to act justly." He didn't run from fear, he prepared for it. This practice works because it disarms the emotional impact. When you clearly imagine, what if I'm rejected? What if my project fails? What if I lose my job? And calmly answer, if I'm rejected, I'll learn and move on. If I fail, I'll adjust and try again. If I lose my job, I'll reinvent myself. You discover that you would survive, and what's more, you already have a plan. It's like training for a storm before it arrives. You don't avoid the rain, but you stop being surprised by it. Epictetus said, "The wise man doesn't wait for ideal conditions, he prepares for the real ones." And that's exactly what Premeditatio Malorum does. It transforms fear into preparation, anxiety into clarity, and paralysis into conscious action. You can apply this today. Before an important decision, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Can I bear it? What would I do if it happened? By responding calmly, you don't eliminate the risk, but you do eliminate the suffering in advance, because true power isn't in controlling the future. It's in not letting it control you, and that's how you become immune to fear. 5. What you control and what you don't. The most powerful principle of Stoicism and the most liberating is this: learn to distinguish between what is within your control and what isn't. According to Epictetus, one of the pillars of Stoicism, men are disturbed not by things, but by the opinions they hold about things. And most of our anxiety about the future stems from a simple mistake. We waste energy trying to control what is uncontrollable, while neglecting what is truly in our hands. What's not under your control, what people think of you, the results of your actions, approval, success, recognition, the future, the economy, crises, market changes, the decisions and reactions of others. These are real, important factors, but beyond your direct control. You can influence them, but never fully control them. What is under your control? Your judgments and interpretations, your intentions and decisions, your efforts and actions, your response to adversity, the way you choose to live, your values. This is where your true power lies. When you internalize this distinction, something profound happens. Your mind calms. Anxiety about the future diminishes because you stop fighting uncertainty. Instead of worrying about what you can't change, you direct your energy toward what you can transform. Your choices and attitudes. For example, you submit an important project and receive no response. If you focus on what you can't control, the other person's decision, the outcome, you'll feel anxious, rejected, and perhaps even discouraged. But if you focus on what you can control, the quality of your work, your consistency, your willingness to move forward, you stay on track, even without guarantees. This clarity is what brings serenity. You stop being a drifting boat, pushed by the winds of circumstance, and become the captain of your own ship. And this is how you become immune to fear of the future, not by predicting what will come, but by strengthening your response to it. 6. How to live in the present without ignoring the future. Living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the future, and planning for the future doesn't have to mean suffering in anticipation. Stoicism teaches the perfect balance, acting clearly in the now, without getting lost in an uncertain future. Many people believe they must choose between two extremes. Either they live on autopilot, reacting to chaos, without planning, or they live anxiously trapped in future scenarios that don't yet exist. But the Stoic doesn't fall into either of these two extremes. They live in the present with purpose, while preparing for what may come without suffering in anticipation. The difference lies in intention. Planning wisely means setting clear goals, making decisions aligned with your values, acting with effort and discipline. Suffering in advance means wasting emotional energy on unlikely scenarios, postponing action out of fear of the outcome, allowing what-ifs to paralyze your life. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning, "Today I will do what is right, no matter what." He didn't ignore future challenges, but he also didn't allow them to steal his peace in the present. Stoicism teaches that the only time you can act is now. The past is gone, the future hasn't arrived yet, and it's in that very moment that you choose. Reacting with fear or acting with courage, you can plan your career, your project, your relationships, but without clinging to the outcome. You can prepare for the worst, as Premeditatio Malorum teaches, but without living as if it had already happened. This is how you build a life of serenity, with conscious actions in the present, without surrendering your peace to the future. As Seneca said, we do not have a short time, we live a short time. Don't waste the now trying to control tomorrow. Live with purpose today. Decide clearly. Act courageously and let the future take care of itself. 7. The art of acting courageously, even without certainty. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action, despite fear. This is the most powerful lesson of Stoicism. Many people wait to feel safe, confident, or ready to act, but the Stoics know there will never be certainty. And yet, you must move forward. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of one of the greatest empires in history, ruled in times of war, plague, and betrayal. In the midst of crises that would shatter any mind, he wrote in his journal, "Act even if it seems impossible." He didn't expect to feel courageous. He chose to be courageous every day. For the Stoics, courage isn't a personality trait. It's a daily practice. It's waking up afraid of failure and still sending the email. It's fearing rejection and still saying what you feel. It's doubting yourself and still taking the next step. Epictetus, born a slave with a crippled leg, taught that true courage lies in doing what's right, even when it's difficult. He had no external freedom, but he chose to maintain the freedom of the mind, and that for him was the greatest act of courage. The good news, you don't have to face war or prison to practice this courage. It's built day by day, in seemingly small but profound choices, telling the truth when it would be easier to lie, maintaining discipline when no one is looking, starting a new project, even without guarantees of success, remaining calm in the face of unfair criticism. These are courageous actions because they require you to prioritize your values over your emotions. Stoicism doesn't demand perfection, it demands commitment. Every time you act with integrity, even when afraid, you strengthen your courage like a muscle. Seneca said, "What holds us back is not lack of time, but lack of courage to begin." And it's true, the world isn't for those who have less fear. It's for those who act even with it. So, don't expect to feel invincible. Start where you are. With what you have, with the fear you feel, and with the simple but powerful decision to not let it decide for you, because that's how you build a purposeful life, not when everything is right, but when you act, even when everything seems wrong. 8. Stoic routine to strengthen your mind. Serenity doesn't happen by chance, it's built day after day with small conscious choices. Just as an athlete trains their body, the Stoic trains their mind, and the best way to do this is with a simple, practical, and powerful daily routine. Inspired by the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, this routine doesn't require free time, absolute silence, or an isolated lifestyle. It works, even in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. What matters is intention and consistency. Morning, start with purpose. 5-10 minutes. Don't start the day reacting to your phone, the news, or messages. Start with a question. Who do I want to be today? What values will guide my choices? How will I respond if I face difficulties? Write a clear intention. Today I will focus on what is within my control. Today I will not react with anger. Today, I will take an important step, even if I'm not sure. This morning ritual isn't magic, it's mental programming for conscious action. It creates an invisible shield against anxiety and reactivity during the day. Reflective pauses, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You don't need long meditation. Just brief moments of pause are enough to realign yourself before a difficult meeting, when feeling frustrated, or when you realize you're scrolling through your phone out of insecurity. Stop for 10 seconds and ask, is this within my control? Am I acting based on values or emotions? What would a Stoic do now? These pauses are like small adjustments to the ship's rudder. They keep you from veering off course without realizing it. Evening, review and reconnection. 5-7 minutes before bed. Do a Stoic daily review. Grab a notebook or notepad and answer, what did I do well today? Where could I have acted with more integrity? What did I learn? What will I take into tomorrow? This isn't about judgment, but about responsibility and learning. Seneca said, he spent his nights as if he were accountable to himself. This habit builds self-awareness and corrects course before small deviations become a misstep. Over time, this routine becomes a natural rhythm of clarity. You stop reacting to chaos and to start acting with intention. You stop worrying about the future and start living purposefully in the present. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be consistent. And this is how, day after day, you build a mind that doesn't waver because it's been trained to know it's yours and what isn't. Point 9. How to deal with failure and deviations without losing your way. Everyone who attempts something significant fails. They make mistakes. They stray from their path. What separates those who continue from those who give up is not the absence of failures, but the mindset with which they face them. And this is where Stoicism shows its true power. It doesn't promise a life without obstacles, but teaches how to navigate steadily even when the seas are rough. The Stoics understood that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, said, "The wise man does not lose his way, because he always has a direction." Even in the face of adversity, he maintained clarity about who he wanted to be. And that's exactly what Stoicism strengthens. An inner direction that doesn't get lost in the winds of circumstance when you fail, make a mistake, or stray. It's easy to feel unmotivated, as if all is lost. You might think, am I incapable? Am I on the wrong path? But the Stoic doesn't respond with doubts, he answers with practical questions. What can I learn from this? What depended on me? How can I adjust without abandoning my purpose? This is the Stoic navigator mentality. No one expects the boat to sail straight all the time. Headwinds, currents, and miscalculations are inevitable. The important thing isn't to never stray from the course, it's to know how to get back on track. Failure, for the Stoic, isn't a signal to give up, it's a signal for action. Marcus Aurelius, amidst wars, betrayals, and disease, wrote, "The obstacle to progress becomes the path." For him, every difficulty was an opportunity to practice courage, patience, and justice. Failure doesn't invalidate the path, it tests your commitment to it and the deviations. It all happens. One day you lose focus, procrastinate, make a bad decision. Stoicism doesn't demand perfection, it demands a return with dignity. You don't need to punish yourself. Just acknowledge, adjust, and move on. As Seneca said, no matter where you are, but where you are going. True direction is not measured by the absence of mistakes, but by the ability to continue after them. When you understand that failures and detours are part of the process, you stop seeing them as signs to give up and start seeing them as a necessary part of the journey. This is how Stoicism builds resilience, not by avoiding suffering but by transforming it into strength. And this is how you stay the course, not because everything works out, but because, even when it goes wrong, you keep sailing. 10. The power of acceptance. How to stop fighting uncertainty. 480 words. The greatest source of suffering is not uncertainty itself, it's the fight against it. We live trying to control the future, over-planning, analyzing every scenario, avoiding decisions for fear of what might go wrong. But Stoicism brings a liberating truth. Uncertainty is not a flaw in life, it's part of it. And the more you fight it, the more anxiety you create within yourself. Stoics they believed in eliminating chaos. They believed in living clearly within it. And the key to this is active acceptance, not passive resignation, but the courageous acknowledgement that some things are beyond your control and that this need not destabilize you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever happens with serenity, not as a burden but as an opportunity to practice courage." He didn't say this theoretically, he said it as he faced wars, illnesses, and the deaths of loved ones. His peace came not from the absence of problems, but from the acceptance of what he could not change. When you resist what you cannot control, a medical diagnosis, a financial loss, the end of a relationship, you expend emotional energy that could be used to act on what is within your control. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance releases strength. Stoic acceptance is not giving up. It is saying, this happened. I didn't choose it, but I can choose how I respond. It's stopping asking why me and starting to ask what now. At work, it means accepting that you don't control the economy, but you can control your effort, your adaptation, and your willingness to learn. In relationships, it's understanding that you can't force someone to change, but you can choose how to behave with integrity. In health, it's accepting that the body ages, but caring for it with discipline every day. Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb men, but their opinions about things." Uncertainty only paralyzes you if you believe you need to control it to be at peace. But when you accept it as part of the human condition, you stop fighting the river and learn to navigate it. And that's where true power lies, not in predicting the future, but in being present, with courage, with clarity, with peace. 11. Small choices. Great courage. Begin today. You don't have to change everything at once to change everything. Real transformation doesn't begin with a heroic gesture, it begins with a simple, courageous choice at the right time. Many people put off change because they believe they need more time, more motivation, or a perfect plan. But the truth is, immunity to fear of the future isn't achieved all at once, it's built with daily, small but intentional actions. Stoicism doesn't require perfection, it requires daily practice. A minute's pause before reacting, a sentence written upon waking, 3 minutes of reflection before bed. These are simple, almost imperceptible actions, but done frequently, they reprogram your mind. So, stop trying to To fix everything, start with a single principle. Choose a Stoic habit and put it into practice today. For example, when you wake up, instead of picking up your phone, write an intention. Today I will not suffer in anticipation. When you feel anxious about the future, pause for 10 seconds and ask, is this within my control? At night, set aside 3 minutes to review the day. What did I do well? What could I have done better? These are small but powerful gestures. Every time you choose calm over reaction, action over paralysis, clarity over anxiety, you strengthen your character. You prove to yourself that you don't need to control the future to be at peace. The key isn't intensity, it's consistency. As Epictetus said, it's not enough to know the philosophy. You must put it into practice every day. Knowing that you should have acted with serenity doesn't change anything. Having acted with serenity even once is transformative. And don't demand perfection. You will fail, you will forget, you will forget. The important thing isn't never making mistakes, it's always return. Think about it, a ship doesn't arrive at port because it followed a perfect course. It arrives because, even though it's been blown off course by the wind, it has adjusted its course 1,000 times. You don't have to always be right, you just have to keep sailing. So, don't wait for the perfect moment, start now. Choose a habit, practice today, repeat tomorrow, because that's how you build a purposeful life, not with big promises, but with small, courageous steps taken every day. 12. Conclusion. You don't need to predict the future, you just need to be ready. You've come this far for a reason. You've come because you want more than distraction. You want real peace. You want to stop suffering in anticipation. You want to live courageously, even without guarantees. And best of all, you already have everything you need to get started. Throughout this video, you've seen how Stoicism isn't a philosophy of the past, it's a practical tool for living serenely in the present, even in the face of uncertainty. You learned that the future doesn't need to be predicted to be faced. True strength lies in acting, even when afraid. Anxiety comes not from uncertainty, but from resistance to it, and that your peace doesn't depend on what happens, but on the quality of your response. You saw how principles like Malorum, focusing on what you control, and a daily routine of reflection transformed the mind from reactive to strategic. It's not about ignoring the future, it's about stopping agonizing over it. It's about living purposefully today, without giving your emotional energy to scenarios that may never happen. And the good news is that you don't have to change everything now. It only takes one step. Choose a Stoic principle, a pause before reacting, a morning intention, a nightly review on, put it into practice today. Small choices. Repeat it consistently. Build an unshakable mind. If this content resonated with you, like it, share it with someone who is anxious about the future, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on inner strength, mental clarity, and purposeful living, because the world doesn't need more people waiting for the right moment. It needs people who, even when afraid, decide, today I'll start. After all, the greatest power you can have in controlling the future, it's not letting it control you, and that's what Stoicism offers. Not a life without challenges, but the courage to face them calmly, with dignity, with purpose. You don't need to control the future to live in peace. Just learn to face it with courage and clarity. This video showed how Stoicism transforms fear into preparation, where anxiety into action, and uncertainty into an opportunity to act with integrity. You've seen that what you control is the only place you should focus your energy. Premeditatio Malorum eliminates the power of fear, and that acting with courage, even without certainty, is true strength. Being immune to fear of the future isn't about ignoring it, it's about facing it with a trained mind. And this mind is built with small daily choices, so don't wait. Choose a Stoic habit, a morning intention, a reflective pause, a nightly review, and start today. Small actions repeated with discipline build an unshakable life. If this content resonated with you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more videos on inner strength and purposeful living, because the future is uncertain, but your response to it can be clear now.